too old now, I'm just afraid that you walk away. You're across the road from me, but it's an ocean wide, and the current's pulling us, dragging me aside. Oh, you're a constellation, and I'm just a star, blinking in the universe, but you'll never notice me at all.
Hey guys, what's up? Just getting started here. Gonna turn the lights on quick, and we're gonna watch the KISS Community League tonight. So I need to get logged in here actually. So we're doing 2 laps of the London Loop tonight for this race. So we gotta find it. KISS Community League starts in 3 minutes. I'm getting ready to go out of the pen now. And let's go get over there. Hey, what's up, Carissa? How's it going? It's been a big day. If everybody's been sitting around watching streams, I know Carissa has. Chatted with Carissa quite a bit in the Zwift Facebook page earlier today. Awesome racing today. Awesome racing today. I think it went really well for a first time event like that. We've done others similar to that in the past, but first time of a true full-on production done by Zwift HQ, live television. It really went over well. Yeah, I ghost raced 2 of them, Carissa. I rode with the men on the last 2 races today. So that was fun, and it also gave me a good idea of how hard they were racing. Yeah, they did a really good job. The racers, I mean, really, it comes down to the racers and how closely matched they were, how hard they suffered. I mean, it was cool. Close battles, good racing formats. All that stuff. Just, it worked out really well. So I'm trying to see who we've got in the race today. You can see a few that I follow. Chris's husband Mark. Looks like Scotty's in here. Frank Deal. Who else we got up here? Tom Wilson, a teammate. I rode with Tom outside last weekend. He lives just down the road from me. Looks like we got a team draft in here as well. They're doing 2 laps of the London Loop tonight, so that's 2 Box Hill climbs. The race earlier today finished up in right at 40 minutes. I don't think they'll be quite that fast today, but we'll probably have 42 minutes. So it'll be interesting to see. So Box Hill is about, for the front of the pack, it's going to be somewhere around 6 minutes. I think my PR on it is like 5:50, 5:45. The KISS Super League yesterday did it in 5:30 with the double draft on, and earlier today they did 5:30 in the Community League. Probably only 1 or 2 riders in this race that can throw down a 5:30. I don't think I can throw down a 5:30 without double draft and a lot of strong guys. I don't think I could do it in the Community League setup. So it's going to take me a little bit to move forward here. I may need to give up and just go over to my Zwift companion app to find the front of the pack here. Big E here will take us to the front of the pack though, so we're just going to follow Eric Sorensen here. Big E team draft through to the front of the pack. You can see here 46th position, 35th position. Big E is a strong enough rider. He'll find his way to the front here. We're going to see this is 141 racers going out here. We are not starting pin separated here. So what that's going to mean if you're not starting pin separated here is all A's, B's, C's, D's, all category riders start together in one pack. You can see here we're at the front of the pack, or in the front group here. But all racers are starting together. The race is still scored at the end in Zwift Power by the individual categories, but they all start together. A lot of the lower category racers, their goal is just to hold on to faster guys as long as they can. You're going to see a pretty big pack stay together here until we get to the climb into Trafalgar Square. It'll break off a few guys there, and then of course Box Hill at the end of the first lap, or about 2/3 of the way through the first lap, is where you'll really get the drop there. Thanks, Carissa, for the host. I appreciate that. And you can see here it is just strung out behind. They did just go through. You saw the start-finish banner. That's going to be the finish line. They'll do 2 laps coming through that start-finish line. Every time through that start-finish line, they will get a power-up. They will also get a power-up at the very tip-top of the KOM that they're going to climb up here in a few minutes. So those 2 positions is where they're going to have an opportunity for a power-up. Power-ups will matter in a sprint finish, in any race, really. If they have power-ups, the power-up's going to matter in a sprint finish. This is not a flat race, so it's still going to be strong guys finishing at the front. But amongst the strong guys at the front, you know, a helmet's typically going to beat a truck or a feather coming to the start-finish line. But you may need that feather, for example, to get up the hill with the front group. Seeing a few other strong guys in here. Looking at Zwift Power here. Let's see if we can get it open. And we'll get Zwift Power open here. And I'm going to check something on the on one of my scenes real quick to make sure it is set up right. It is set up right. So we can swap scenes. Pretty simple. We're going to open up KISS Community League. You guys can go find this information at swiftpower.com. We're going to give you guys, before we get to the climb into Trafalgar Square, we're locked in here. Pretty tight bunch. We'll keep the race up down here in the corner. But you can see here, this is where we can look at some data and some stats. Particularly what I'm looking at in this race is I'm going to look at this last column to the right. This 20-minute power number. I'm looking for the really strong guys in the pack here. Eric Sorensen, a 4.9. We've got a 5.2 here with a Matt Wilson. I don't know Matt, but that's a strong number there. 5.0. B. Mercer. That name does sound familiar to me. A 4.8. Another 4.8 in there. Here's a 5.2. That looks like Jay Nefkins. We know him. 5.9. That's going to be Maverick Miller, who is always tough in these races. I expect Maverick and Scotty are the 2 big ones here. Scotty has a 6.7 in that column. So, I mean, we're talking 5.5s are huge numbers. And then, oh, there's Scotty with a 6.7. Holy cow. Tyler Waldron is another one here with a 5.6 in that number. For you guys that know me, in that column I have about a 5.2. So I think I just named off about 4 guys that are stronger than me, and one of them that's 1.5 watts per kilogram stronger than me in that column. So that kind of gives you an idea of some of those numbers I'm rattling out there relative to my numbers in that column. So those are going to be some of the guys we'll watch for here. I wish they actually gave us the A+, the black A designation in here. We could see them a little bit better, but we are making the right turn and we're going to do the climb. So we got to get back here and watch him get up this climb. I'm still just on Eric Sorensen's avatar here. Just that's who I picked up early in the race. Somebody I know who's going to stay near the front here for the first section here. And we'll see. I see a teammate jersey right here. I'm sure that's going to be Frank Deal or Tom Wilson. Both of them are probably going to be near the front right now. Looking at the mobile app, that is true. I've got 2 teammates, a really strong B teammate and then an A teammate that'll be near the front right now. We got a little kick off the front here. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Oh, this is Scotty. This could go somewhere. We're going to see if anybody's going to hunt him down. Scotty went hard, and I think Scotty does this early in the race here. He's trying to bait somebody to come along with him, and it's not a bad kind of bait. I think what he's looking for is if somebody's willing to come along with him, or 3 or 4 guys are willing to bridge to him and work, he'll go along with him. So he'll kind of throw out there as a carrot. But you see here, he's putting down big numbers, but he's not completely selling out for this yet. You'll see him bounce down into the 4s here and there. Now that he's seeing that there's not a substantial chase, though, he's settling in 5-5 or above. And now you're seeing at 3 or 4 seconds behind, you're going to see some of these guys. Like, I expect a guy like Maverick Miller here, and I missed where he was at. He was right here at the top. I expect a guy like this to try to get across to Scotty now. You can see the pack now is actually getting Scotty back pretty easily with this type of move. Strung out a little bit at the front here. I'm seeing a lot of the riders that I follow are actually listed as about 3 seconds behind. So I think they're still in this pack, but they're way back there. And then another Tom Wilson, who is a strong B rider, he's showing us 9 seconds behind. So I think he's back there in that chase pack, maybe just barely getting held on. And we're actually going to go back and see if we can see from Tom's point of view where he's at. And so Tom here is suffering, pushing as hard as he can to just hold on. I do know Tom really well. Tom doesn't have a real high max heart rate. When I really ring Tom out on the road, this is the kind of heart rate that I see. So I know that he is on the limit, but he also knows if I can get this draft and I can get in with these guys, the guys behind him are 20 seconds back. So those guys 20 seconds back, if Tom can get into this pack and just get even 30 seconds of rest before the climb, he's got this huge gap over his competitors that are Bs behind him. There are still a few Bs in this pack up ahead, and you can see the pack up ahead is gone at this point. So Tom got to this smaller group here that he's in. 5 or 6 guys that just didn't quite make the move into Trafalgar Square. They're seeing the pack kind of get away from them. They're going to settle in here on the climb. There's going to be 3 or 4 Bs that are still in this front group. Then when they get spat out on the hill here, they're going to come right back into these guys' clutches. They're going to blob up, and they're going to ride round 2 together. Here we got Mark Min. If we have any information from Mark, we just need to let Carissa know. Carissa will scream at Mark across the house and make sure that Mark stays in the pack. Mark is on one of the teams that's going very seriously at this KISS Community League, the overall league, not just the individual races. The KISS Community League is actually a team-based league. The riders are registered for teams based on how I think it's the top 4 team riders in each race finish is the points that team accumulates for that, and then it's by category. So your top 4 A racers will get A points, your top 4 B racers will get B points, and so on and so forth down there. I believe it is some pretty hardcore fighting going on between, and let me look to verify this for sure, but I know it's Team HPP, and I believe it's Cannondale. Yeah, the Cannondale, the Canadian team, Eric Losell, some of those guys who actually aren't here tonight. I don't believe. So we got a little bit of moves up at the front, so let's get up there and see what's going on up there, and we'll drift back a little bit. You can see they're starting to break apart up here. JZQC, so yeah, Jazwift QC, which I have no idea. I've never heard of that team before. We got Maverick Miller here at the front from Team INC. I expect, based on the couple races that I've done here, I expect these two to ride off into the sunset. They're going to have their own little mini battle at the front, and no one else is going to pay them much bother back here in the pack. I believe they all have a lot of respect for the power of those two guys up the front. It just comes down to most of the guys in this pack, me included, know I can't hang with that on the climb. So, see, yeah, you're just like, go on, go. We'll have our own little fight back here. Which, that's what it looks like it's shaping up to be here. So, Now, a few of those other names I rattled off here, we're on O Young here, who has no heart rate, so his results will not count in the overalls. But Waldron, for example, here. Waldron, we got a B Mercer and an I Mercer, which is interesting. I wonder if there's a relation or what's going on there. But I remember Mercer was a name that we brought up. Obviously, we talked about Big E. We were riding along with him for a while. So Waldron, Mercer, Big E are all guys that we've already talked about, are those guys that had that, 4.8 to 5.5 20-minute number. They're probably going to be able to hold close to 6.0 as an average up this hill. And they're not quite doing that number as an average right now, I don't believe. So I think these guys are all going to be on the limit, but not going crazy over the top. A group of 5 riders like this holding roughly 6.0 over this climb are going to end up climbing somewhere right around that spot on 6-minute time. So these guys are probably going to come in a little bit over 6 minutes. I would say, 6 minutes, 6:15. If you guys have a guess at their time, throw it out there. See who can get the closest to the time. But that's what I would expect from those guys. Looking at their 5-minute numbers, actually these guys, none of them have thrown down any super crazy 5-minute numbers in this pack that I see here. There's a Daniel Lucas listed in this pack. Okay, yeah, D. Lucas there. He has a 6.5 5-minute number. But the rest of the guys here are 5.4 and below, which actually surprises me with what some of their 20-minute numbers are. I thought they'd be a little closer to that 6.0 number. So this is going to get tight here. We'll stay on, I believe it's Tyler here, Tyler Waldron. And we're going to look back from Tyler here over his shoulder. And you can see they're kind of strung out behind him. Those 2 riders you see just over their head back there. We'll see if we can look back a little bit here. There's 2 riders kind of in the gap there. Those riders, that's going to be Jay Nefkins and B Boggs, I believe. No, I take that back. That's Patrizio and Lucas. So Lucas was the one we were just talking about that shows those 6.0 plus 5-minute numbers back there. I think he's got the legs to get across this gap. And then you see another pack back there of about similar size of this. There's not much gap here. We'll see over the top. You see we've got this riding on the road now. This is always the indication to me that you haven't made the climb yet, but if you've got anything left to hurt anyone, now's the time to put it on. From here to the top of the hill is probably only about another minute or so. So a lot of times when I see that riding on the road and we haven't climbed completely over my limit, this is where I'll start trying to break guys a little bit. Start pushing them a little bit. So typically you'll kind of know how I feel, kind of inside scoop here. You're going to know how I feel at this point in the race, because if I'm feeling halfway decent, I'm going to push the pace a little bit right here to the KOM banner, or at least to this little corner that we've got up here where it flattens out. I'm going to see if I can pull a little bit of gap, see who's got the legs to respond to me, kind of see how that plays out. Nobody's really pushing it here. M. Wilson, Big E, they're all riding at the front. They're holding about 5.0. We're going to see here, the leaders are going to cross that Box Hill banner any second now. You're going to see their times pop up on the left-hand side of the screen. Yeah, Carissa, I use the kicker to my advantage also. A lot of times what I'll use the kicker for, and I've done this a lot in smaller races, if there's only 3 or 4 of us and it's the last lap, I use the kicker to try to burn power-ups. So I will go all in on the kicker. If I didn't get a power-up to finish the race strong, if I didn't get the helmet to sprint, essentially, even if I did sometimes, I will force stupid hard climbs on that kicker and see if I can get anybody to spit that power-up just to hold on. And then I know, like, I'm good for the sprint. So here's these guys coming across the line. You can see the times ahead of us, 5:29 and a 5:42. That means they're split up. Scotty's got a little bit of a gap on Maverick Miller. Looks like they're riding off into the sunset. These guys are going to come in then probably around that 6:15 mark, is my guess. Here they are across the line. 6:08, 6:09. Good climb by these guys. So we've got 2, 4, 6 in this group together. And then a solid 20 seconds back to these guys. Just come through the banner to 621. And we saw somebody there, I think, burning a power-up coming through there. Not necessarily the place you want to attack. I think maybe they were just burning a power-up because they had it and they wanted to get something more and get a little bit of a rest. So now it's going to be, can they pull this back together? So we've got this group here, 6-7 riders. There's a little 2-second gap there, but I think they're going to pull it back together. So we got this group. We've got a group 20 seconds up the road. You look over the shoulder, you got a group 17 seconds back. Who's got legs? Who can pull this back? The group a little bit behind here, we've got Mark Min, Frank Deal, just 25 seconds back from this. So they're sitting back here around this area. I think we're going to find... Here we go. Mark is in no man's land here a little bit. Frank Deal in no man's land a little bit. So Frank is trying to push. Frank sees these guys ahead of him. He's like, I got to hold on to these guys. This is my ticket. This is my ticket for the next lap, right? Mark's got to dig right now. 5 seconds. Mark, you have got to go. You've got to go right now. This is the race. Mark has to get these guys. So we got to cheer for Mark here a little bit. Mark has got to get these guys, and he has got to get them now. 3 seconds on the downhill. You have got to bury it. Everything you got, or you are going to solo TT for the rest of the race. And Frank and Mark just, you can see it. I can see it in his power numbers. He's just like, I gave it. I don't got it. He was he was 6 watts per kilogram after the hill climb was over, and he's just like, nope, can't do it. Like, now, what I would say to Mark right here is, take a breath. 30 seconds, 45 seconds. These guys ahead of you are only holding 2.0 on the downhill. Try to settle in at a 3.0 on the downhill, and when you hit that flat on the downhill, roll back into the power. You might, if you can dig a 4 or a 4.5 for 2 minutes at the bottom of the hill, you might just grab these guys. If nobody in that group ahead of you really goes hard here, it's 22 seconds on the downhill. They're going to flatten out and slow down before you. You're going to naturally close up some of that with the momentum on the hill. Hold 3 on the downhill, and when you hit the flat, get to about 4.5 and see if you can start making ground. If you can start making ground and you get that down into 10 seconds, then you got to get the fire in your belly and you got to dig and you got to go. You got to kind of test the waters a little bit at the bottom, and if you can't close that up at all, you got to let it go. But I think there's still a chance there if these guys don't really dig. So these guys moving along at the front of the pack, you can see on the times on the riders nearby on the right, it's about 50 seconds up from these guys. We're only at 20th place here in the race. So guys, we're still very, very far forward in this race. We had 140 riders start. We're looking at guys that are in 20th place that are a minute off the front. So these guys are in a good position. They're catching riders that were dropped up ahead. You can see on the riders nearby list, there's a few riders here. They're going to pick up. They could still pick up a few stragglers across here, and you're going to see this gap's going to come back. Mark Hill's here still going hard behind. Not being double draft. If these guys up ahead of him don't push too hard, there's still a chance to TT back. So give Mark a ride on here. See if Mark can make any progress through these guys going down into the subway tunnel here. It looks like these guys are keeping a pretty good pace. I'm seeing some 4.9s, some 4.4s at the front of this pack. Those guys are trying to stay away. But you're seeing a 4.9 at the front of this pack, really just holding a steady effort. All right. We're going to flag that one. Sorry. He's a Z-Power sitting at 400 watts. We're flagging him. Sorry. The flag has been dropped. Because what makes that hard, and I don't even want to say it because if Mark's listening, it's going to frustrate him. But it ruins Mark's chance to chase back because somebody's sitting on a less than perfect setup, just sitting at 400 watts. That's probably not an accurate 400 watts. and you know, it kills you. It's very frustrating.
Like they were when you were the one driving my car, and now I just count the ways of our yesterdays ago.
Well, nice digging, Mark. We appreciate the dig there. It was close. It was close. Moving forward a little bit, you can see here we had these gaps over the top. So this was the riding group that we kind of followed over the top. We've got Scotty off the front. Maverick Miller's only 20 seconds ahead of these guys, so these guys may reel Miller back in. Miller being by himself. Looks like these guys are still working a little bit. Big E going to the front here, 170 heart rate. These guys are still pushing the pace a little bit. They're going to come in here with a 21.5 minute loop, which is a nice, good, strong time for a lap. They're going to try to pull in Team Innovation up front. So these guys are pushing the pace a little bit, which is holding the gap behind them at this 21 or so seconds. But these guys are also on the gas at the front of this group. You're seeing 4.5 consistently. So nobody's really aggressively chasing, but they're not sitting and looking at one another. They haven't given up on, number one, keeping the gap to the riders behind them, but also closing the gap to the riders ahead of them. What will be interesting to see is if this front group catches Miller, are they going to catch Miller and sit up? And if they catch Miller and sit up a little bit, because now it's like, okay, we're going to rest for the hill and all that, does that give pack number 2 a chance to catch up again? And do those gaps start shrinking? And I think they're going to a little bit. It depends on how conscious these guys and Group 1 are really, and I'm calling Group 1 Wilson, Mercer, Big E, Waldron. How conscious are they of the guys behind them chasing, how close they are? Are they consciously chasing Miller? It looks like they are. Not sure what's driving each individual rider within here, but it looks like there is enough guys in this group willing to go to the front and work to either catch Miller or to stay away from the chase pack, that they're keeping a good pace. But you see the gap behind him here, so we move back to this next group. They're not going anywhere. It's still 21 seconds is all you're seeing between these two. So still digging, holding the gap steady. Now this pack, so this is pack number 2. The lead A pack is up ahead. They're chasing Miller. Scotty's off the front. So we got Scotty off the front. We got Miller behind him, just about to get caught by the pack up the road from these guys by about 27 seconds. Then we've got this group. And then behind this group, you've got the similar gap. And you've got Patrizio here at the front, and he's just getting caught by the rest of this group. And this is that Frank Deal group. This is that group that Mark was chasing. This is a bigger group. A little bit bigger, I guess, than that group behind, but they've been consistently holding a pace too. So when we got to the flats, none of these groups are separating. They're all holding that 25 second gap or 20 to 25 second gap. This is a struggle on how you play these scenarios in these groups. So some guys will always chase a rabbit, right? You guys have all met that dog, right? That dog that will always chase a rabbit. I don't care if it's a rabbit, I'm gonna chase it, right? There's some people that's just the way they ride. It's burned into their brain. There is a rabbit, I'm gonna chase it. There's other people that are, and this is me, there's other people sitting in this pack saying, I want to play the odds. I want to play the strategy of the race now. So if I'm playing strategy in this race, if I'm playing strategy up here in this group, this is probably the group that I would end up with in this race. And if I'm playing strategy in this group, I am encouraging them. Catch Miller. We can do it. Let's catch Miller. I will go to the front and do a little bit of work, but I will not do a lot of work. But I will encourage my buddies in this pack to work their guts out. But I'm not going to do a lot of work. Or if I see the gap closing up behind me, when that gap's closing up behind me, I'm going to do the same thing. Come on, guys, we got to work together. They're going to catch us. But in my brain is what I'm thinking is, I've dropped every one of these guys behind me. that are off the back, we dropped them on the first climb. We'll drop them again. I don't care if they catch me or not. I want to burn the guys that I'm with so I can beat them on the climb. So, getting back into tactics, it's, are you the dog that's going to chase every rabbit you got? Or are you going to be the strategist who's going to play the odds in your mind to the best finish possible for you? So here's an opportunity. These guys are going to kick a little bit up into here. I don't expect this to break apart the pack. Usually at this point in the races, it's a pretty friendly group. So I expect them to go hard a little bit here. You got Maverick a little bit up the road. But I don't think anybody's going to dig here, which that's what it's showing here. They're actually not going at all, which I'm surprised by. Mercer now just kicking a little bit. If this group behind gives a little kick, they're actually going to make up a lot of room here. But, you know, back to the dog chasing the rabbit versus the strategist in these packs. The dog chasing the rabbit, it's going to get a better workout and probably going to gain more fitness, right? So the bloodhound in that group who's constantly hunting the rabbit, they're going to get a better workout. They're going to work harder. They're going to bury themselves deeper. And they're going to have a ton of fun, right? Their tongue's going to be hanging out. They're going to be smiling. They're going to be working like a dog, right? That's what they're going to be doing. And that's great. Like, I do that sometimes. That's why I love the Hare and Hounds races, which is kind of funny because I wasn't even thinking of that analogy, but that's what it is. I'm chasing, and I get to be the dog in that race. I don't care. And when I get the people playing strategy in that race, I get angry at them because I'm like, that's not what this race is about. But in these races, it's about winning. So that's the way that I would typically play this, unless I had intentional workout goals for the day. So a little bit of the inside Casey's racing brain, and anybody that's raced me enough pretty much knows to not believe anything that I say in chat, as far as like we can catch them or we got to work together. Like sometimes most of the time I'm not being mean-spirited typically. I'm usually trying to get the group to work or something like that, but I'm not always trying to get them to do things for reasons to benefit the group. I'm always leading them to my advantage, not to help them. So as long as everybody processes my comments through that filter, they make a lot more sense sometimes. Yeah, it is. You see here, we got a little bit of a catch going on here. We're right, like we still have a standing joke. I think it's Johnny Rocket and maybe Brandon Melting Tallow. If any time that we are in a race and one of the three of us types deer in chat, we immediately all sprint. And the reason was, I was in a race one time. We were riding through the park here in London, and there's a deer off to the right-hand side of the road. And I typed deer in the chat, and I sprinted. And now, like, it was like 2 weeks later, Brandon Melting Tallow and I were in a race. Oh, Frank Deal's going across this gap. Nice dig, Frank. Good call. So about 2 weeks after that, we're in a race together, and Brandon Melting Tallow types in the race, or in the chat, he says, "Casey, is that a deer?" And I attacked, like, immediately. I didn't say anything. I just attacked. And it was like, from then on, it's like, oh, okay. We know what that means. We've had some fun with it too. Actually, there was one race where I was like, every time they say deer, I'm gonna attack, and he kept just saying it like over, and every time I would attack. It completely ruined my race, but we had a lot of fun. So now we've got big packs forming. We just saw pack number 3 catch pack number 2. Now we've got a swelling pack behind, but we're almost to the hill. So in front of these guys, we've got Maverick Miller sitting 7 seconds up. Maverick put these guys away pretty easily on the first hill, so I expect him to just kind of hit the hill and go on up the road again. I'm not sure that these guys are honestly going to chase him. I think these guys are going to ride the hill at their pace, at their limit. Very similar to what they rode the first one, and if they catch Maverick, great, but I don't think anybody's big intent here is to catch him. These guys are all been racing around enough. Most of these names I recognize that they know what Miller has left in his gas tank, and they know what they do. And I really don't think any of these guys have in their head that my goal is to catch him. I think it's great if it happens, and I'm going to put it in here on the climb, but it's not I'm going to get the bit between my teeth and go for it kind of climb here, which just the power numbers that I'm seeing right here tells me that already. You know, Miller set it at 6.2, 6.0 as soon as he hit that line. These guys aren't reacting like that. You're just now starting to see a little bit of 5.5 well past the line. They didn't really attack the base of the climb. Now what this is going to do though, if these guys don't get rolling up the hill up ahead, this 15 seconds is going to start shrinking. And if somebody pops, I don't think this is going to be pack number 2 catching pack number 1 at this point, but it's going to be anybody that pops off of pack number 1 is now going to get swallowed by pack number 2, because if you pop out of that front group, you are going to be back in this group. You will not stay away from this group solo at this point. And I think all of these guys are going to climb pretty hard here. They just passed my avatar. Here I am, just slowly pedaling across the gap here, earning my power up. So we're going to look over at Young's shoulder here. Actually, this is MB. We're going to look up the road, I guess, from this pack. So from MB's point of view, we can see up the road. We can see all Waldron, Mercer, Biggie, M. Wilson. They're all climbing together. They're all holding together. We're not seeing time gaps up there of anything significant. Although Waldron is pushing the pace here, and MB here seems to have these guys pretty well in tow behind him. So let's go up here and see what Waldron is doing. Waldron is on the gas here, and he was the guy here that had, I think, a good kick still. Waldron had the 6.5 in this group. He has the big 5-minute number here over everybody else. So Waldron, I think, is going to try to ride away from these guys. He might try to go get Miller here. And just looking at sheer stats, Waldron was on another level than most of these guys. Benedict and Israel Mercer, 2 different Mercers here together, have very similar stats, as well as Sorensen and Wilson. They're all 5.5 and under for a 5-minute number. And Waldron here has a 6.5 5-minute in his history. So definitely just one notch above here, maybe on fitness. Yeah, I think Waldron's going to make this gap. So we're going to watch that a little bit. We've got this group that's held together here. These 3 guys, looks like the 2 Mercers and Biggie. They've dropped off Wilson now, and Wilson is dropping back to this group behind. And then, yeah, I think you've got this HPP train going here. You got HPP here. Now, there's getting to be some gaps back here. And I think this is a similar separation to what we saw earlier on the hill. Remember, this was two blobs that merged together on the flat right before the hill again. So it seems similar names seem to be popping to the top here again. I remember Nefkins was doing a lot of work in this pack after they got over the top. He had made it across there. You know, Frank Deal is back here with the second group. Frank was back in that second group earlier. Hey, Watts for Swift. This is the North America one. We have off the front right now, Scotty Weiss is long gone up the road in the lead. Tyler Waldron and Maverick Miller. See, now we missed this, and I'm kind of bummed I dropped back now. I thought Tyler would just catch Miller and kind of sit with him. Miller went after Scotty on the first climb and then was solo the entire second lap. Waldron sat in with a pack, and they got within about 10 seconds of Miller, or maybe 6 seconds of Miller at the base of the climb. Tyler was clearly the strongest rider in that second pack, or in that chase pack that was chasing down Miller. Tyler got about a quarter of the way through the climb, and he just hit the throttle, and he went all in, and he reeled in Miller and then went straight over the top. So now we've got Tyler Waldron in second place when he was sitting in the chase pack essentially the whole first lap. He was saving himself, and he's putting it all in on the climb. and he's going to try to stay away from this rest of the group. Now, Miller's still doing the work. Miller still has the power probably to stay away from this chase group. This next group on the road, Big E, Mercer, Wilson, these guys rode that first lap together with Waldron. They were a pack off the front. They're still kind of holding together on the climb. Wilson's fallen off a little bit here. Wilson's in trouble, and at this point in the climb, so we've passed the riding on the road, right? Remember the first time up the hill, we talked about the riding on the road, and that's the all-in point. This is Wilson's point. When I saw that riding on the road, and I'm Wilson, I see these wheels ahead of me. If I don't catch them, I'm done. If I can catch those 3 wheels, I might be able to out-sprint one of those 3 guys. But if I can't catch those 3 wheels, I might lose to these guys 15 seconds over my shoulder. So right now is critical time for Wilson, and it's at the end of a 6-minute climb. So he probably doesn't have anything left. But if he does, those guys are there. They're 5 seconds away. This is where you got to go. So then, for me right now, it is 7:30 in the evening. Big day of racing today. Outside of KISS Community League, we had the big British National Championships today. The men's and the women's races were on all day long. Check out the Zwift channels on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. Check out the Zwift channels. I'm sorry, to watch those replays. Awesome races. There was like 4 hours of racing coverage today. It was all great. Make sure you go check that out. But here we are at the top, guys. So we got Waldron. Just to recap real quick, Waldron, and he's using his power up already to go up this hill. He got a feather. He's going to use it to go up the hill. He's trying to stay away from Miller. Scotty's long gone. They're not catching Scotty. Waldron did a 5:53 that time, so Waldron improved his time on the second lap. I don't think anybody else is going to improve their time on the second lap. It doesn't look like I'm seeing any better times on the second lap. So Miller's going to chase Waldron here, and then I think we're going to have Mercer, and Big E here scrambling. Based on surnames and who's in this pack, I think this is going to be a 2v1 situation, just my hunch. Mercer, not sure why, used his truck power up at this point in the race, which I would have saved that for a sprint finish personally. Big E going hard here on the kick. I think he knows that it might be a good time. So he's seen one guy who's already dropped his power up. Big E may be doing that strategy that I said earlier. This is a time to shake the power ups. Big E staying on the gas here. He's going to open up a gap. Mercer sat up. And Big E is still on it. He's still on it. 7.4, 7.3. Eric Sorensen is going for it here. And Eric Sorensen can do this. Now, Mercer's... And there's the other power-up. There's no power-ups left. Even if Eric wasn't trying to do a breakaway, this is what he wants to see out of this group. If Eric has a power-up to finish with, he knows these guys don't have anything left. They've both used them. They're done. So... if Eric has a power-up to finish this race, he doesn't care if they catch him or not. Now, he put in the big dig. He may still try to hold them off. So, I think this is going to be a big fight here between these guys. Big E's backed off a little bit, and Mercer's chasing. So, I think... okay, Eric now has conceded that this is coming back. Eric backed off. I think all 3 of these guys are absolutely suffering. The lowest heart rate in this bunch is 176. These guys are absolutely suffering. So Wilson here, kind of in no man's land in between. So we're going to have a battle between these 3, like a heads-up sprint. And we'll get back up to them before we get close to the finish. But it looks like we got another group here of about 5 coming in a little bit behind there. Boggs, Nefkins, Charles, Whitfield. Some of these guys in here, I think... going to be a nice little battle within here. I don't think they're going to catch Wilson. I don't think they're going to put in the energy to catch Wilson at this point. And I don't think they're at a risk to be caught from behind because it's a solo rider here. I think this is the guy that was just sitting at 400 watts earlier. So he may catch them, but they don't care. And they're not going to try to run from him. And then we've got this next group coming in here with Frank Deal and crew back here. So similar people in similar groups after climb 1, and this is where I was saying this is usually how these break out. When I'm in these lead groups, I'm going to bait the people around me to run from the chasing pack. But when you get to the next climb, you just drop them again. That's typically what happens is if a group chases for a half a lap to catch you, if they could have climbed with you, they would have. So typically, I don't get too stressed about that because the next climb will just drop them again. And that's basically the way this race worked out, is over the first set of climbs, you had 3 distinct packs. Some of those packs broke up a little bit here. They're not identical over the next set of climbs, but the core nucleus of those groups kind of stuck together again. Hey, what's up, Westy? So you're seeing here, after the first climb, there was 5 guys together up here, right? Wilson's a little bit off the back, and Tyler was the guy holding back, and Tyler's ran off the front. But the other 3 are still sitting here together. Same thing with the group that's chasing him now. Nefkins, Boggs, some of those guys, they were all that next group on the road. They might have dropped 1 or 2 guys on this last climb, but they're ahead of that Frank Deal group. And here we got the attacks coming out of the hills, looking over the shoulder. They kind of let Wilson back in here. I was talking here, and I didn't realize Wilson was chasing that hard. Wilson almost got to him, and then they just flat broke him out of the climb again. Big E, I think, got a little irritated with that attack and says, okay, if you're going to attack me there, I'm just going to attack right through you. And I think it's over. They are not responding. So we're just going to slide back a little bit because I want to see this. I want to make sure they're not making a move here either. And it doesn't look like they're making a move here. Yeah, Waldron played this race really, really, really well. He knew he couldn't chase those guys on the first climb, so I want to make sure I catch. We're going to give Big E a ride on. Maverick Miller. So Scotty already won the race. Great job, Scotty. Killer effort up there. Tyler Waldron, Doug Miller, pretty much solo 2/3 of this race. These guys all raced really well. Big E, big finish for him. Great job here. He's pretty well locked this down. The guys behind aren't chasing. The Mercers are together. We'll see if they sprint at all. They could still get caught by Wilson. This is a 2v1 situation. Wilson is still pushing hard, so Wilson could sneak up on these guys. So, yeah, Wilson could sneak up in here. But I don't think so. So the Mercers are going to go here. We'll see if they go sprint numbers here. If not, we're going to drop back. We want to watch this group behind. It's a little bit more 5 guys here that are going to sprint. We want to get back and catch those guys. So I'm not seeing the Mercers here going at it. I think these guys may just say kudos to one another, pat one another on the back. He may be my buddy, but I'm going to punch him in the face right here if I'm finishing the race. We're friends, but we sprint. That's the game we play. But it looks like they're not doing it. All right, here we go. Coming to the finish with these guys. Nefkins, Charles. Who's got the power-ups? Okay, Sibum, Team ODZ. He has the big helmet, and I think he's going to come through all these guys. Although Nefkins, with that 12 watts per kilogram, I don't know that he's going to reel Nefkins in, even with the power-up. This is going to be close. He does not catch him, and here comes Frank Deal. Frank Deal had the power-up. We caught him right at the end. Come on, Frank. Dig, 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 dig. Hold on to that spot. Oh, how close is this going to be? Oh, I think Frank got it. I think Frank got it. All right, guys. I kind of lost the race there. Great job, Frank. I'm going to catch up here on Westy's comment quick, and then I got to run. For the most part, I could only get Favero down to 5 watts from the kicker, but I picked up Power Tap P1, and they're even better. Okay. Okay, so sounds like, Tyler, you're returning the Faveros. The power on those was it a bit high? Sounds like maybe. You got the P1s. They're pretty close to the kicker, within 5 watts. That's probably mostly drivetrain. Yeah, 5 watts is not much. I mean, anything, you got to think about 5 watts. 6 watts at 300 is 2%. So that's nothing. Yeah, so that can easily be drivetrain, the point and the point on the bike that you're doing the readings. So that's pretty typical. So great race by these guys, Scotty, my buddy Frank Deal. Fun. Thanks for hanging out with me, guys. Good dig, Markman, or yeah, Mark. Great effort there. Too bad we couldn't get Mark all the way back, but it was a great effort. We saw him go all in. I know Carissa was screaming at him across the house. So I gotta call it quits, guys. But thanks for hanging out. Thanks for dropping in. I'll be here tomorrow. Probably doing a long ride tomorrow. So we'll chat with y'all tomorrow. I hope everybody has a good night, and ride on.